February 25th, 1957, Philadelphia. A college student walks through a patch of woods near a place locals call the Devil's Den. He's checking muskrat traps. What he finds instead will haunt this city for the next 65 years. A cardboard box. Inside it, the body of a small boy. No name. No missing persons report. No one looking for him. They would call him the boy in the box. And for over 6 decades, nobody knew who he was. The box itself was a clue. It was a J.C. Penney bassinet box, the kind used to ship baby cribs. The boy inside was somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. He was wrapped in a cheap flannel blanket, his hair recently and crudely cut, as if someone had tried to make him harder to recognize. His body showed signs he'd suffered for a long time before he died. Old scars, healed fractures, signs of malnutrition. This wasn't a single act of violence. This was a short life of suffering that ended in a wooded lot off a Philadelphia road, wrapped up and left like trash. Detectives arriving on scene knew immediately someone had wanted this boy to disappear completely. Not just his life, his identity too. Philadelphia police launched one of the largest identification efforts in American history. This was before DNA, before national databases, before the internet. Identifying an unnamed child in 1957 meant one thing: get his face in front of as many people as humanly possible. They printed nearly 400,000 flyers with his photograph. They inserted them into every gas bill mailed out that quarter. They pinned them up in every police precinct, every firehouse, every Boy Scout meeting in the city. Detectives went door to door. They checked hospital records, school enrollment lists, foster care placements. Nothing. No one stepped forward. No one recognized him. It was as if this child had never existed at all, until the moment he was found dead. One lead seemed promising. A social worker came forward years later and said she recognized details matching a specific foster home she had visited. A home where a woman ran an unlicensed, informal fostering arrangement for boys nobody else wanted. Investigators pursued it hard. But record-keeping in the 1950s for informal fostering was almost non-existent. Names didn't match. Paper trails vanished. The lead went cold, like every other lead before it. Detectives who worked the case in the 50s and 60s never stopped thinking about him. Some of them, decades later, still visited his grave. They raised money themselves so he wouldn't be buried in an unmarked plot. They gave him a headstone. It reads, "Heaven knows his name." The case went cold, and it stayed cold for generations. New detectives inherited the file. Retired detectives kept working it on their own time, unofficially, because they couldn't let it go. Every few years, a new tip would surface, a new theory, a new promising lead, and every time it led nowhere. By the 2000s, the boy in the box had become something of a local legend in Philadelphia, a symbol of a case police refused to give up on, even when there was nothing left to go on. His photograph, reconstructed, aged, redrawn by forensic artists over the decades, became one of the most famous cold case images in the country. But a photograph wasn't a name, and without a name, there could be no justice. Everything changed with a technique called investigative genetic genealogy, the same method that helped catch the Golden State Killer. It works by taking DNA from an unidentified body, uploading a genetic profile to public genealogy databases, and tracing distant family connections until you can build out a family tree wide enough to identify exactly who someone is. In 2019, the DNA Doe Project took on the case. It wasn't fast. It wasn't simple. Building a family tree from fragments of extended, distant relatives takes patience. Matching second and third cousins, cross-referencing genealogical records, narrowing down branches one relative at a time. For 3 years, they worked the puzzle. And in December 2022, 65 years after he was found, they finally had a name. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Philadelphia police confirmed it through DNA testing. After 65 years of anonymity, of flyers and theories, and a headstone that read, "Heaven knows his name," investigators finally knew who he was. It was a moment decades of detectives had worked toward and never lived to see. But identifying Joseph didn't answer every question. It answered who he was. It didn't answer who did this to him. To date, no one has been charged. No one has been arrested. The person or people responsible for years of abuse and for his death were never identified. And given how much time has passed, many investigators believe they may never be. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the mystery of who he was. It's the mystery of why no one ever reported him missing. In a city of over 2 million people, a child vanished from existence, and not a single person came forward. That silence says something disturbing, that Joseph likely lived and died in a way that kept him invisible his entire short life, hidden from schools, from neighbors, from anyone who might have asked questions. His death wasn't the first time he disappeared. It might have just been the last. Detectives now know his name. They know roughly who he was. What they still don't know, and what may never be answered, is who did this to him and why. Joseph Augustus Zarelli was given a name back after 65 years in the dark. He still hasn't been given justice. If you were one of the thousands of Philadelphia detectives, genealogists, and volunteers who spent decades trying to solve this, thank you. And if you know anything that could finally close this case, Philadelphia police still want to hear from you.